Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
It's my turn to have a run-in with Nurgle, but yes, hello everyone.
And joining us as our guest this week is a miniature painter whose work you may have well seen on Warhammer TV as well as their own YouTube channel, and if you follow their painting tips then your results will be quite peachy. I had to do the pun, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's awful. I like it.
I know, but it had to be done. But anyway, joining us as our guest this week is none other than Chris Peach.
Hi, also been hit by Nurgle as well. So yeah, he's getting as good at the minute. He's getting as good.
Yeah, it is the season for Nurgle to screw you.
It is. Absolutely. God damn him. Thanks for
so welcome to this edition of the Plague Cast. The Cripple Cast.
Makes a difference, yeah. I have to say it's interesting because obviously, Chris, you took over Warhammer painting tutorials pretty much from Duncan. We had Duncan after he moved on, and now we picked up yourself. It's almost like there's a cycle of like you walk out of one door and you walk onto our show. It's quite funny how that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, we worked together for many years, me and Duncan. Got on very well. And then, yeah, he went over to Warhammer TV. He was having fun. And I think for me, it was like, I missed painting. And because I was managing at the time, I was like, oh, I like painting. And then a job came up, so I worked with him for a time. But there was always this sort of like, I don't know, people got a bit annoyed because I was like trying to take his job. I was like, no, we're mates. We were just working together. And then he left. And I tried to take over for a bit and just didn't enjoy it as much. And I can see why Duncan moved on because it lost a lot of its... not direction, just some of the things we were focusing on it's a marketing department, so it sells products and stuff. It just felt it lost a bit of its passion for teaching people how to paint as opposed to marketing products. So that's why
I noticed
move
that.
On.
I noticed that a bit with the tutorials that I watch is often they'll say, put this colour on. Whoop.
Yeah.
Now put this colour on. Whoop. It doesn't actually talk about much of the technical aspect of how you've actually done it, which bits you're hitting. It just goes from put the first bit ill trip on to whoop, done. Yeah. Which is fine if you're just trying to learn the paint scheme and you know what you're doing. But in terms of, it's not teaching you to paint, it's teaching you what the scheme is, which you would also know if you just read the box.
Yeah. I mean, there's arguments to be made, like the battle ready stuff. Was a good introduction into like using the colours, the system colours, brushes and stuff, but it was still very clunky in its way, and that's one of the things that me and Pat tried to do on the painting phase, which is make it a little bit more chilled out, a bit more relaxed, and go, you're going to make mistakes, don't worry about it. Hey, look, I've got a big splodge on the white. I'll paint that later, don't worry about it. Because that is really realistic what happens when you paint. Yep. You make mistakes, and it's worth showing those, because not everyone knows how to fix them. And because I've been doing it for years, you only see the finished results. You never see the work in progress kind of stuff. So it's nice to be able to, be free to do that and not go, no, we can't show mistakes. No, we can't show the colours in a negative light. It's like, yeah, well, that colour isn't great. So why would we ever use it?
Yeah. Speaking of the new colours, I remember when they were announced, I saw a few people being quite mixed on the new shades. I don't know how you found them to use by comparison, the old to the new shade mix. Apparently there was a big change and people were like, I don't know about that.
Initially, no one likes change, right? I was a bit like, I got used to using the current shades, not the previous shades. I got used to using them. And then these new ones stepped in, like the new kids on the block. And I was like, get out, you're not welcome. I don't know who you are. You think you are, coming here, showing me how to shade. But actually, in reflection of using them more, I prefer them. And the reason being, yes, sometimes they do have a bit of a sheen, but that can easily be corrected with like a matte varnish or like just contrast medium because that dries matte. And one of the things I found is it doesn't pool on the recesses as much as the previous shades do. And because it's got sometimes a bit of a sheen, it doesn't knock back your metallics and makes them super dull. It still keeps the metallic, looking like metallics. It doesn't look like grey or like beige if you're using golds and stuff. Yeah. So it doesn't pull too much. It goes into all the places you want it to go. The best way to describe it is when you initially applied the old shades on and they're wet, they look mega, and then they dry and they look naff. It's kind of like it does the thing you wanted it to do, but obviously it's dry now, but it's not as shiny. In some places it might be, but that's just shaking your pots a bit better.
Yeah, okay.
But I love them. I I think they're great.
Fair.
I wouldn't change them.
That is fair. It's always interesting to get. I don't know if I suppose you would class yourself as a pro painter take on it.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I think officially, if you paint for a living, you're classed as a pro painter. So people on eBay that sell really badly painted models are still classed as pro painters and sell them on eBay. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say if you've done it for more than 10,000 hours, which I definitely have, I'm classed as an expert painter. So, but I wouldn't say I'm a heavy metal level. I'm expert at army painting and speed painting. That's my expertise, as opposed to showing you how to, do non-metallic metals or OSLs or superfine edge highlights.
OSL can go away. No. No. I remember seeing it in a White Dwarf back in the days when they used to do heavy metal masterclasses in White Dwarf. This is like 2008, 2009. And they did one on OSL, and I was just like, what the? I was 13. I was like, what the hell am I even looking at?
So I was a bit. It was a long time ago. The wife wanted me to paint up a set of stormtroopers for a friend of hers because he was retiring, and I'd not had any much experience with Star Wars Legion. I got some stormtroopers. I thought I'd get Darth Vader as well. And I thought I'd have a go at doing OSL, and I went down the Peter route of dry brushing, and then I did like a little wash, and it looked great. And I was like, I need to do a video on how to do OSL with just a bit of a dry brush on the right areas. And it's only one of those things. It was like a flex. It wasn't necessary, but I thought I'd give it a go just to see how it would work. It was a ballsy move because I'd not really done it properly up to that point, and it was for someone's retirement present. So I was like, oh well, no time like the present, eh? But I like the results, and it can be done by dry brushing and washing. So that should be a video. Simple, light reflections, peachy tip style.
Sounds like a plan.
So, in the news this week, a fair amount apparently, but let's just jump into the big thing that dropped today. Henry Cavill producing a 40k TV series.
Yeah.
I think
that
this
came out of nowhere.
Yeah. So, fuller context, Henry Cavill played Superman in the DCEU. Massive Warhammer nerd, has done feature stuff with Warhammer community before. I don't know if you actually got to meet him when he came over, Chris.
No, my son had an inset day, and I was in Derby, actually, in the shopping centre in Derby, just when I found out about it. But I was like, oh, well, I'll meet him again some other point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I missed out, but yeah, wouldn't have changed the day for the world because I had fun with the lad. But yes, it was the wrong day to take off.
Understandable, yeah. So he's recently been, I think there was a statement yesterday, he's been dropped from the DC franchise as it's going through its big rebranding and all that. And this morning, early this afternoon around lunchtime, a partnership between Warhammer, Amazon, I think there's a creative studio, and Henry himself is going to be running an Amazon Warhammer series. Henry is taking a creative director role type thing, as well as the lead role. So he's given himself been given a lot to do. The logo they used for the article was ripped from the Age of Darkness rulebook. Don't know if that means it's going to be a Heresy series. Would be nice if it was. But
well, here's what I'm thinking.
Go on.
I think that this TV series might actually be in regards to the Eisenhorn series that was announced about 2 years ago and we haven't heard anything about since. Like they're finally moving it into production kind of thing. So if Henry Cavill is in the lead, Henry Cavill as, Inquisitor Eisenhorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually he's going to have to shave his head. He's going to have to go down that route and shave his head and go full bald guy. But,
or they'll just CG his hair out like they did his mustache, didn't they?
That's true, yeah. Oh, God, of course they did. Oh, man.
It was awful. Don't do that.
Just shave your head, mate. Just shave your head. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's been on the cards for a while because I don't think that visit to One World was by chance or just off the cuff kind of thing out of the blue. I definitely think it's been none of us at work were privy to it. I assume there's lots of conversations, secret rooms where executives and creative directors and stuff have been chatting and whatever. But I definitely think it's been on the cards for a while. Initially, I know with the concept of Eisenhorn, they're looking at getting Mark Strong to play Eisenhorn, and I couldn't think of anyone better to play Eisenhorn than Mark Strong.
Given the way he played Titus, yes.
Well, did he play him in the Eisenhorn video game?
I think so. I'm not sure now. That's my brain meat now to click a few clicks there. Great books. I tell you that. For instance, I would look. I think there's two things that for me that would, because 40k is big, right? There's so much information, and Horus Heresy is a good one. There's a lot of information to download. Eisenhorn's really good because it's a very sort of focused story thread. So you don't have to assume knowledge knowing that. And I think also, just because I'm a huge fan, is the Gaunt's Ghosts, because it takes that human war element into, like, the first time they see an Iron Warrior, the first time they see, like, a demon, the first time they see, like, cultists with, like, when they take the masks off. So the Gaunt's Ghosts go on voyages of discovery in the novels as a new hobbyist would. So I think they're also a really good
I think Gaunt's Ghosts, if you're wanting to go a different direction, you could probably do the similar thing with the Last Chances as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine 40k Band of Brothers, but it's Gaunt's Ghosts. Imagine that.
I mean, yeah, story checks out. That works.
You could just go completely left field and do, like, a TV series based on Cal Jericho.
Ooh, oh yeah, Necromunda. Oh, come on, yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah, or they could even use it as a thing for Warhammer Crime and do something noiry or Interrogator style if they wanted to. I don't know.
Yeah, Interrogator was quite good actually. I enjoyed that. Enjoyed watching through that. Very different.
Oh, what's the name of that Warhammer Crime duo? The Rattling and the Ogrin.
Oh, Mark's going to kill us because he literally wrote the bloody thing, and I've already forgotten their bloody names.
It's like Planket and Clod or something, isn't it?
Something like that.
It rings a bell. Yeah, that does ring a bell. But sorry, I'm useless when it comes to recall at the moment. My brain is so frazzled.
Yeah, I understand. But no, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, no timelines really in terms of when we're getting it, but it's a thing. It's happening, and probably it'll all pass out of our memory, and then it'll get announced with a proper trailer, and everyone will get hyped again. So, it'll work.
Watch the trailer drop as soon as this video goes live.
If it does, then truly we live in the most bonkers timeline.
Well, I remember like the Witcher being announced like years ago, and I remember like some kind of fan made thing which had he plays Lashif in Casino Royale. I forget the
Mads
Mikkelsen. That's it. Yeah, had him like there was like some fan made sort of thing, and then it was like clarified that it was actually being made, but they never actually specified who was going to be the actor. So that was like years before it actually came out. So yeah, it could be like next year. It could be 5-6 years from now. Hope not.
Yeah, that would be sooner. Much.
Speaking of Mads Mikkelsen, does anyone remember the photo of him with that cosplayer of Belisarius Cawl?
No.
Yeah, there's like about a year or so ago. Hang on, I'll try and find a picture. 1 second.
Remleiz goes to consult his mechadendrites and just goes frantically searching through the extranet looking for anything he can find. No, this is genuinely news to me.
Yeah, I found a picture. Hang on 1 second. I'll just dump it in the chat for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's amazing. That's proper bob on as well. I like how he's holding his head.
Oh, excuse me.
Insane. There you go. We can get Mads Mikkelsen in the Henry Cavil 40k TV series.
The crossover none of us knew we needed.
Well, if it's like the Heresy era, I mean, we know he would have been around because he kind of communicated with Gulliman, didn't he?
Mads Mikkelsen.
He's a perpetual, that guy, isn't he? So,
oh, don't make me laugh.
He's been around forever. He is the Emperor, I'm sure. Yeah, that'd be amazing, though. I mean, part of me, it's one of those things that I remember Henry Cavil was saying. Cavill, I always say Cavill. Don't know why. I don't know if it was something they mentioned or a tweet or something that once you pick that character, you have to be that character. So that's going to be the tricky thing. Part of me, I don't know why, because I've got so much love for Loken or whatever whether it will be that he picks that character going through the Horus Rising style storyline. If it is heresy based stuff,
yeah, I mean doing the first 3 books would be good. Going up to Galaxy in Flames probably and stop there.
Oh god. Yeah, well, yeah. Don't go to Fulgrim. You might need like an 18 rating for that one.
Yeah. To be fair, you're going to need one for Galaxy in Flames.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it works for Game of Thrones. You're not wrong.
I mean, Galaxy in Flames has literal genocidal virus bombing and all of that. So I think you kind of need it there as well. Yeah.
Let's just melt some people.
Fulgrim has a scene of
I know.
The woman.
I know.
Yeah. and the knife,
I know. Stop.
Yeah. I read that book once. That was enough.
Yeah. Enough. Right. What we probably would have led with had that bombshell not just landed on our desks this morning was the Black Library preview for 2023 that was done not long after we filmed the last episode. We did a couple of predictions. Rem, you were actually right. We did get a new Dawn of Fire novel, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But the actual Black Library event miniature, I guess, for the day was one of the Dawn of Fire characters, White Consul's Captain Messinius, who you'll recognise as one of the protagonists of everything around Guilliman in the series.
Yeah, isn't he like basically Guilliman's new equerry?
Kind of, yes.
With his fancy new power fist and plasma pistol.
It's an Auramite power fist, actually.
Auramite? That sounds amazing. I've seen the figure. I've seen the paint job. Looks mega. It does look really nice.
I mean, painting white is... I don't know. I always have said yellow is the hardest colour to paint, but I think white is the hardest to make look good.
Oh, there's a really good painting channel called The Painting Phase, and we share how to paint white clone troopers, but you can transfer that to like Space Marines or anything. It's really simple. Just plug that. No, you can make it difficult. I mean, one of the things I used to do, the mistake I always made was I start off darker and work up to lighter. But as the years have gone on, I've got older, I've realised I've not got much time left to live, is I find that if I just spray them white, and then now that the new shade Soul Blight has come out, because it's slightly darker than Apothecary White, it's great. If you thin it down slightly, it does all the hard work. You can just dry brush a bit of white after. And your white is done. So I use White Scar spray, Soul Blight slightly thinned down, and then a dry brush of White Scar paint, or Pro Acryl, which is what I've been using for the video, because that's a really weird but amazing paint. You can thin it down quite a bit, but it still has a lot of pigment in it. But yeah, it's literally 3 stages on doing white, and it's super easy. We're going to look at doing a yellow video. We'll have to be after Christmas now. It was going to be before Christmas, but things have happened this week, which I won't go into.
Fair enough.
Understandable.
It's made me angry.
Hopefully it'll get sorted, though. I'm hoping.
I hope so. Otherwise, we're starting from scratch, but it'll be fine. We'll work around it, I'm sure.
Yeah. The novel in question, Dawn of Fire Book 5, I think it is. Top of my head. It's called Iron Kingdom, and it's set on Kamidar, which is one of the night worlds. Some of you might recognise that name. So Battle Group Praxis arrives at the world to return the Queen's slain daughter. They're there also, however, to strip it of its resources and then prepare them to become part of a bulwark. However, it soon turns into a bit of a feud because Kamidar's been on its own for a while, and it sort of starts turning into a bit, oh god, Night World, Imperium, not really getting on, friction, civil war maybe. Don't think it's going to go that far, but Abaddon's agents are in the background, and it's going to become a problem. And the Hand of Abaddon shows up. I believe that's, what's his blooming name? World Claimer. I think he's the Hand of Abaddon.
Oh, yes, I know you mean.
World Claimer, yeah.
Yeah. I painted him. I remember it. I remember painting him. I can't remember his name. Yeah, that guy. Ooh.
I think I'm suffering from lag on my end. Damn my internet connection.
Yeah.
No, sorry,
I got worried.
Oh, right, sorry.
No, I went on mute because I was coughing.
Right.
No. Next was a bit of detail from Dan Abnett on End and the Death, and we also get the artwork for End and the Death Volume 2, which pits Sanguinius against Corrupted Horus, and it is, as usual, a very, very lovely piece of artwork.
It's nice to see Sanguinius on the bridge of Horus's ship not dead for once.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make a valid point.
It's always dead, isn't he?
It's one of those memes, like pictures taken moments before disaster.
Ouch.
And all the Blood Angels fans are going to be screaming at me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably screaming, Horus!
All right. Now, I have to admit, a novel I'm actually surprisingly not surprisingly, because I've read a lot of this style of book, looking forward to is Bad Loon Rising, which is a Gloomspite Gitz novel. And yes, it is a pun on Bad Moon Rising. That is there deliberately. It tracks the idea of a unlikely loon boss who's got a dodgy leg and yet is able to wield the clammy hand, the powers of the bad moon, and also has got himself, or is getting himself for sure, a troll sort of guardian Troggoth called Scrog, and I am very much looking forward to reading this because greenskin books are funny. They are always funny. They are grim as all hell, but they are also really, 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 really funny. So,
Yeah,
yes,
Except the War of the Beast series.
Well, that's funny for a different reason.
Yeah, it's written by Andy Clark as well, isn't it? Of course it is. So, yeah, he likes his greenskins. Yeah, he's going to have fun doing that.
Yeah, of course, sure he will. And then they did a background art lore book on the first founding chapters. Sort of looking at a where are they now kind of thing. I don't know how much new information is going to be in here, but if you just like to have everything, because you're Remleiz, then this might be something to consider picking up.
Yeah. Do you remember the old Index Astartes or Codex Astartes book? It was like a large book, and it had like I think it was Ultramarine based, but it was all the markings.
Oh, Insignium Astartes.
Thank you. That's it. I knew I'd get it wrong.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah,
that's a really good book, and it's like we've never really redone that or touched on that because that's like really useful information. I'm hoping that this book has got elements of that in it, or all of that information in there as well, because that would
fingers crossed.
That was very good, very useful.
Then a few extra bits. So the book, Reader's Choice books were Skarsnik and Macarian Crusade Angel of Fire. Good choice. Angels of Darkness is getting an 20th anniversary edition. So that's the Dark Angels book. You've got the Black Library Anthology, Thingamawhatsit, and a character book. They're doing a cipher book.
Not just that, it's a cipher book set during the Adeptus Crusade after he got imprisoned by the Custodes in the Imperial Palace.
Oh.
So yes, it says, during the Breaking Storm, Cypher and the Fallen escape the most secure prison in the Imperium and are loose in the palace, hunted by the Dangles, the Custodes, and assassins. What are the intentions? They're told from Cypher's own unreliable point of view. His tale sees one of the most mysterious figures make war at its own heart, but what are his motivations? Obviously, no one bloody knows because Cypher's bloody weird. But yeah, I think this will be a lot better than some of the others in this series. I know a lot of them have been quite good. The Gazkul one was good. The Huron one was fine, as I recall. I know you're reading the Shadow Sun one.
I like the Huron one.
Yeah, I don't remember it being quite as good as Gazkul, but I remember it being fine.
It wasn't as good as Gazkul. It was still good, but it wasn't as good as the Gazkul one.
Yeah, you're currently reading Shadow Sun.
I've read the Shadow Sun one. I finished it today.
Right, we may touch on that later. So
if we have time, yes.
Certainly compared to the yellow, those character books like the Luther book, the Sigismund book, the Helbrecht book, I think these ones have generally landed a little... Actually, the Helbrecht book's in this series, isn't it?
It is, yes.
And that was pretty good. I think. So
I've not read it.
Right. Never mind. So I think these have generally landed quite well, and I'm looking forward to seeing what John French can do with it. And then sorry?
He's a good writer, John. I like his stuff.
Yeah, I really did like the Araman stuff. Apart from the last one, wasn't hugely fussed about the last one. Right, and then a quick rundown. You've got a Soulblight novel about a vampire that's dying, which should be impossible, but there we go. Pilgrims of Fire, a Sororitas novel about the Order of Our Martyred Lady, because we have to do that one. A new Gotrek and Not Felix novel called Blight Slayer, where Gotrek has a new companion, a priest called Amara Fidelis, which should be very interesting. As well as a Creed novel about Ursula Creed, who's going back home in Ashes of Cadia by Jude Reed, as well as an Armageddon box set and the Word Bearers box set collection, which contains, they're going to contain, one is Dark Apostle, Dark Disciple, Dark Creed, and the other is the Hell's Reach novel, and I believe the Armageddon Celestial Lion short.
It is, yeah.
Thought it was.
Something? Sorry, you crack on. No, crack on.
I was just going to say there are Siege of Terror maps now. Continue.
Oh yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah, I love maps. Who doesn't like a map, especially in a leather case? You got a leather rolled up case for it. That's very nice. You can feel like
I'm hoping we actually get some more maps, because do you remember when the Sabat Worlds map came out? I'm hoping we get some more like maps like that. Maybe like, a War for Armageddon map would be kind of cool, or like a Vigilus map.
Yeah. Especially if you've got a big table and you just lay them all out, you can feel like you're a commander and you could just look mega. There's got to be something that's got to be said about like workshops, Black Libraries cover art for the books. Whether it's like the really fancy special edition covers that are just really graphically amazing, or just the cover art itself. I'm always just like, I want that as a picture on my wall. Like the Creed, Ashes of Cadia, beautiful. The Blightslayer, beautiful. Who doesn't like Gotrek? And then you've got obviously the Pilgrims of Fire. I mean, I'm a big fan of Sisters of Battle anyway, but it's just the art game of workshops front covers. And they say never judge a book by its cover. Well, I think you're fine. You can look at that cover and go, yeah, it'll be a good read. But at least I hope so. But yeah, it's so good, the art.
Oh, definitely. I actually can't remember if I mentioned this at the time, but my channel Avatar art?
Yep.
The guy who did that, he actually got commissioned by Games Workshop to actually do the 40k Magic the Gathering crossover card art.
You did not mention that.
Yeah, he's done quite a few stuff like the Necrons, for example.
Oh, credit to Sleepy then.
They're not Sleepy. It's KLJ who did that.
Oh, flip. Sorry, I'm so used to Sleepy doing everything that I talk about with you art-wise. Sorry, my bad.
No worries.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he's done quite a few Necron pieces of art. Like he's done like Amrakir the Traveller. He's done like some Necron Immortals and some like Bio Titan, a Sororitas versus a Necron Lord.
Yeah, I've just clicked on the page and there's actually loads here of really, really, really obviously high quality artwork, obviously.
And you scroll down in the bottom, you can see me.
Yeah, there's like Gilliman meets Dante and then Remleiz on the same page. You're in good company, bud.
Right next door to Lionel Johnson.
And St. Celestine. That is very good company to keep. Right.
Yes, in other news, what do we have?
A new Aegis defense line.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, the Astra Militarum's Aegis defense line is being updated. No longer is there that tiny green tacky thing. It's now much more in the style of the Wall of Martyrs, actually.
Ah.
Yeah, I remember making or painting loads of the old Aegis defense line. And it was cool. I think it was of its day because of the levels of, I guess, not sculpting, but because we used to source out to China a lot of the scenery, that you had to be quite, I know, bland in some of the designing. Just because
generic?
Quite generic is well, not even generic. Well, I suppose sometimes Chinese would take the stuff that you did and then use it elsewhere. That was always the gamble because they don't recognise any kind of copyright. But yeah, I remember because Dave Andrews was doing a lot of the scenery. He'd make everything by hand, and then it would get scanned and then printed out, and then obviously it all gets turned into sprues and stuff, and then done elsewhere in China. It was just a bit harder to actually do it, whereas now it's all digitally done. So, you can. Okay. You make sure all those fittings fit perfectly, and it's basically just taking the miniatures CAD style stuff and bringing it up to date with scenery. So that's why the scenery has had quite a step change in the last few years. But I've always liked the Wall of Martyrs, very nice kit. So
agreed. For an uneducated idiot, me, what's the difference between printing a CAD design and just 3D printing? I know it's CAD versus STL, but what is actually the difference, just for the uneducated like me?
Well, I say print it. So what they used to do was Dave would let's take the Aegis defense line or the old outpost bunker. I forget what it's called now. That went with those. It was like a big bunker thing that went with them. I forget what it was called, like the tall thing.
I know
the Bastion.
Bastion, thank you. He'd make that all from like UPVC, sort of like that kind of not expanding foam, but it's like that hard white material that's like in sheets that you can carve into. And it would make it all from that. It would carve into it, give it like designs. It would put like sculpt eagles or sculpt like metal banding around it. And then there was a couple of guys down in the tooling which would take it to a machine. They put all these little stickers on that were like black circles with white dots on. They'd stick them all around because they're very talented guys. They knew exactly where to place things and what would be scanned and what wouldn't be picked up. And then this machine scans it, and then there's a grown version of it. It's like a weird red glass kind of material, and that becomes your proof, which is then broken down and looked at like making into molds and stuff. I'm going on old memories here as well because it was a long time ago, and they eventually started to like, once all the departments split off, you kind of lost some of that knowledge because I wasn't in miniatures anymore, so I didn't see that happening. But it wasn't really 3D printed. It was a process in making this thing's Dave's built, scanning it, and then sending that to like tooling so it could laser cut it, or to China so they could laser cut it into steel mold to then be made into plastic.
Right.
So it's kind of like 3D printing, but not 3D printing in a weird way. Because you get like a one-off grow. So yeah, if that red thing smashed, you'd have to then do the scanning again and get another one made, then make the tool out of it.
Right, serves. Yeah, I'm with you, I think.
So you wouldn't just keep like printed loads out. It was like a wad-off cast that you'd then have to make molds out of.
Got it.
I remember we had 19 outposts, bastions, and they're all resin because they'd done this initial test, I guess, proof, what you want to call it, and the molds would give you 6 good casts. After that, they became very janky. So 19 casts, the first few were all right. After that, it's like time to get out the big diamond file, start filling those gaps in. So yeah, it was horrid, but that was of its time.
Indeed. Now, as for how this thing works, despite the fact it's a terrain feat, it's a fortification, you can't destroy it. It's, I think, the only indestructible fortification that you can buy, I think.
Nice.
Plus, it basically gives guardsmen armor of contempt, which, if you don't know what that is the rule that Space Marines have to ignore 1 AP from every single attack they take.
Ooh, that's good.
It's not going to do much with flak armor compared to power armor, but it might just save you from being mown down by that bolter if you've actually got, because you're getting cover from it, like a 4+ save instead of like the 6+ save because it's a fucking shredder bolter or something.
Yeah.
So it'll help.
Yeah. Every little helps when you're a guardsman. Every little helps.
Indeed. I don't actually know how people are finding the new Guard Codex to play, because I know some people who've got it. I don't know exactly how they're finding it yet, but it'll be interesting to see how it has stacked up in terms of what they'll need to do with Meta Watch down the line in terms of nerfs and buffs.
Yeah. I mean, I've got the codex. I've had a read over it. It's very different to the last one. I mean, there's things like orders still, but I don't. And you get regimental doctrines, but they're not like specific to certain guard regiments. So I guess if you don't pick. Because you get a Cadian squad, which has the Cadian keyword. You get Cadian commanders, Cadian command, Cadian special weapons. So they all have the Cadian keyword. But then you have infantry squads, which are obviously using the old plastic Cadian set, which is now Imperial or Astra Militarum squads. So it's a bit all over the place. And my army currently that I built, my Ventrilian Noble army, most of that I can't use anymore because I did like veteran squads and special weapons squads. I can still use my basic infantry squads and command, but then I've got like individual commanders, because before you can buy like a company commander or platoon commander and then have the option to give them a command squad, whereas now it's just a command squad. So I've got like all these commanders where I'm just like, well, I guess you're in charge today or whatever. So there's a lot of me having to like go, well, I might start afresh or just tweak this a little bit, but it looks good. Some nice stuff in there, some nice looking stuff. The models are great to build, by the way. They're really nice to build.
Good.
I enjoyed building them.
Good. Speaking of models that are hopefully really nice to build, this week's Heresy Thursday was a tank. The Typhon.
Ooh.
Is his first name Callus?
No, it was commissioned by Perturabo, so no.
I was making a callous time.
I'm quite aware of the joke, Remleiz. I'm not that dense.
Nice. It's big, bulky. It's like a Land Raider meets a Vindicator, isn't it, really?
It is indeed, and its gun very much reflects that because it's got a 24-inch range, which is like a demolisher cannon. But it's not just any cannon. It's an M&S cannon. It's strength 12, ordnance, pieplate, rending 4+, so ow. Brutal 4, I've forgotten what that actually does in the new rules, as well as Sunder for knocking down buildings, ow. And AP3, so really, really good at melting marines. Plus it can pack in different sponson weapons, pintle mounts, etc. It's a Spartan cross with a Vindicator. Expect fireworks.
I'm curious to see how easy this is to build, considering that a few people have pointed out that the original resin Typhon was a pain in the ass to put together.
It will be as hard as the plastic Spartan is, so hopefully bloody easy.
Ah, good. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to see all these cool tanks come into plastic, because I did get put off with resin after a while, because you got so many massive gaps, and I was like, I can't be bothered with this anymore. I just want to keep to plastic kit, so it's nice. Well, those pintle mounts are really nice.
Oh, yeah.
Right, my next port of call is the World Eaters.
I thought we would just quickly stick with Horus Heresy for the moment, just because the Salamanders got their upgrade kit.
Oh, yeah, they did. Sorry, I didn't even open that article.
That's all right. I just thought it'd be perfect time to do a segue, considering we'll go from Horus Heresy to Horus Heresy.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that happened.
That's all right. And they've got their new helmets, which are not quite dragons, but kind of are at the same time. So we got about half of what we wanted in regards to the Salamander helmets.
It was very interesting, wasn't it? Because when they did the Space Wolf helmets, we were like, Salamanders fans, would you be happy if they had full-on stylized Drake hats? And the Salamanders fans resoundingly went, yes, we actually kind of would, thank you.
They are cool.
And they've kind of gone halfway there. They've gone a lot more beaky and a lot more pointed without the actual draconic maws or anything like that.
But at the same time, still retaining some draconic elements, like with the cranial ridges and stuff like that, and the quote-unquote horn, at the top of the beak.
Indeed, you can say it kind of looks like they've just plonked a dragon scale on a Corvus helm a little bit.
I think it's a nice compromise.
Yeah, although admittedly, the way I think it's just the way they've painted it, but it looks like they've got fossils on their shoulder pads. I don't know if that was the point, but it kind of looks like fossils.
Oh yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Might be. Who knows?
Yeah, indeed.
They feel a bit too detailed for but then I suppose, yeah, I can see what you mean by the fossil.
Yes,
I'm making a judgment.
That's right. I think this will work better probably for, a captain. A more ornate chapter badge kind of thing, or legion badge, rather.
Yeah, I think these will look really good on, you can put them on your regular Marines, nothing wrong with that. But, if you're just doing transfers for your regulars and then, your veteran squads get these and maybe your Praetorian power armor gets one, or if you're trying to convert a consul of some kind, they'd really benefit from it.
Definitely. Right, you were saying about World Eaters?
Yes, there are 2 places we can go. I think, probably given what we just said, we'll go into the World Eaters kit for the Khorne Berserkers, because we've got a proper deep dive into the kit. In particular, the fact that they, for this squad of 10, are giving us 22 heads.
Ooh. That's kind of them.
10 helmets and 12 with the butcher's nails on full display, as well as 10 World Eater shoulder pads and 5 cornate ones and 5 gladiatorial pauldrons. That's quote the article, which is kind of a nice way of showing their old origins and all of that. It's a different shape. It's kind of more square, rectangular. Rectangular is the better word. It
looks more like the shoulder pads you get on like a cataphractii Terminator.
Yes, actually, now you say it. They've also confirmed that they are called eviscerators. The 2-handed chainswords are eviscerators, just confirmation. Talked a little bit about the icon, and to be honest, the fact that it's super duper mix and match. So hopefully,
it makes a nice change to have something a bit more mix and match, considering what we've had as of late in regards to a lot of the kits that come out in general. They seem very
mono.
Like you must assemble them this way, no compromises, and then you got this coming out saying like, hey, mix and match, make it go crazy kind of thing.
Yeah, the AOS kits are awful for it. It's not a hit piece. I love the AOS kits, but they are awful on second run through because you cannot convert them for toffee unless you are really, really careful.
Yeah.
Or you get the right kit. Trying to convert elves is like trying to pull teeth with tweezers. I've
noticed with a lot of the skirmish stuff, so like Kill Team and Warcry, initially Warcry less so, but now some of the kits are coming out with more options on them. So a lot of the like Dark Oath Savages, for instance, you have like more options than I realised, more heads than I realised, and then you take like the Kill Team side of stuff with Deathcore Krieg, even like the Blooded. There's so many choices and so many different builds.
Speaking as someone who has the Blooded, when they say options, what they mean is this model can be built within 2 or 3 different ways. Each piece is still locked to each model, which is not mix and match. That's just choose which weapon you want. For me, I only managed one conversion, which was by moving the medic arm onto a different model. That's about all I managed, and only because it was a flat seam that I shaved off. So
I wonder if it depends on the sculptor then, because the Sisters Novitiate and the Deathcore Krieg, they were very interchangeable among themselves. Yeah, some guns you'd like oppose with like certain the arms wouldn't fit on a certain body because of the way that it was twisted or whatever. But yeah, I've definitely found like a lot of the arms from the Deathcore Krieg would work quite universally across the models within the set. And the same with the Acadians. I've been playing around because I've done a couple of builds like straight from the set, and then I've had a played like doing other builds, and I've had no issues. So I think it might depend on the sculptor.
Yeah, I think that's certainly possible. The other bit of World Eaters is we got Angron's rules. And holy murder. So, I'm just going to read you the stat line at full health and let you decide for yourself. Angron is move 16, which is the speed of a steed of Slanesh levels of fast, and faster than most orc vehicles. Weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 9, toughness 7, 18 wounds, 12 attacks, leadership 10 and a 2-up save.
I mean, he's Angron, right?
Yeah, and then they gave him his weapons, which are Samniarius, I'm assuming that's the name for the Black Blade, and Spine Grinder. It's not Gorefather anymore. Sorry. Which have 2 attack profiles. One of them is AP -3, damage 1, 3 attacks per attack. That's 36 strength 9, AP -3 attacks.
Oh my days.
Or you can go for the slash, which is strength 14, AP -4, damage D3 +3 each, still with 12 attacks hitting on 2s. So,
oh my days.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So if on average, it's 3 dead Russes a turn.
I assume they're talking about the tanks, not the Primark.
Yes.
Or both.
It's those numbers are ludicrous. Like, that's absolutely fine. It's Angron. He can do one thing, and that's kill things in melee, and he can do it bloody well. But if you're not ready for him, I'm sure that Mortarion and Magnus play by the same rule. If you're not playing against them and you don't know they're coming, these guys are going to just win a game all by themselves.
Yeah.
You've got to be ready for them in your army build, otherwise you will just melt into a red paste.
It's characters like this that I like to get as many guardsmen with bayonets as possible and see if I can just take him down with a bayonet and a lasgun. Mainly, I know I'm going to die, I know I'm going to lose, but just to see the look on on the opponent's face when Angron gets taken down by measly guardsmen, because it will happen if you get enough. If you get enough to choke him down, that's the. Yeah, it's happened with Scarbrand before, and it's happened with Archaon, but this guy's something else. So I need a few more guardsmen.
Grots.
Yeah, I'll tell that Scarbrand story in a minute. He's also got a command ability that you pick one of 3 different passives each turn. One of them is give all core units within 6+1 attack. One is give a unit within all units within 6 except himself, reroll once to hit. And the other is trap a unit in melee, so they can't fall back out of combat if they somehow survive a round with him.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, oh, I charged your Guilliman. He can't fall back now. Just, that is how to shut down nasty characters like Guilliman, or heck, even someone like Ghazghkull just gets shut down by that, because Ghazghkull will last as long as his health pool lasts, but not long.
Oh, ye of little faith.
I expect Ghazghkull to do a fair bit of damage, but 18 wounds and a 2-up save when you're wounding on 3s isn't going to do very much.
I suppose, but even so.
Indeed.
Don't forget the nice little graphic of the guardsmanometer. The difference between how many Magnus can take down in one go, Mortarion can take down in one go, and then, of course, Angron with his...
He's 2 Magnuses a turn. Like, holy hell, 2 Magnuses a turn.
That's insane.
Yeah, speaking of, chucking hordes at monsters and hoping they fall over, I remember back in AOS 1, I think I've told the story a while ago, but you just reminded me because you said Scarbrand. I was playing with, this was before all battle tomes, really, and I was playing a mix of Dark Elves with their original rules, and I threw a unit of super buff executioners into Scarbrand and one-shotted him.
Ooh.
And my opponent was playing Beast then, more mixed chaos, and then just went, I cast Savage Dominion, which summons any monster in the game. Scarbrand's back.
Oh, no.
So I killed him again. Which was just hilarious. And I killed a Keeper of Secrets that game. And I half killed an Archaon while I was at it, because he was just running monster spam and summoning more monsters.
Yeah, I think it was a Twitch game. It was Scarbrand, and it was with a load of chaos, Cornate stuff. Bloodbound, I think they're still known as at the time. And I had my sit as a Sigmar army, and at the time you had free guild militia, a free guild guard, and you could have militia, spearmen, swordsmen, halberdiers, and the guard were kind of like the militia. And they had a missile attack. In my head, it was bread, scrolls, bottles, pitchforks, and stuff like that. And I remember killing Scarbrand by just throwing stale bread at him. It was the most unheroic death.
I think he was just so insulted and so mad he just popped it. Why are you throwing these missiles at me? They don't even do anything. What?
Garlic bread, my one weakness.
Scarbrand is secretly a vampire, confirmed.
Oh, he's got, gluten issues. He's like, nope, I'll get bloated. I'm going. No.
Oh, dear. Right, speaking of blood and stuff, they did a full article on the Wrath of the Lost novel that's coming up, the Flesh Tearers novel. There's not a lot I really want to say, but just I really want to read this book ASAP, please, because it's just cool. I just thought I'd mention it as a tangent while I'm here.
I mean, it's Flesh Tearers, of course they're cool.
Ugh.
Yeah. Also, the Black Library submissions program is open early next year. And the theme is successor chapters, just in case you're curious.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I still need to start my unfinished business with Wade, with my Argent Shroud and his Flesh Tearers. I never got around to finishing that one.
Yes, Wade, the man who can only paint one colour.
Yeah, red and black. Come on, there's 2. He's got 2. He's nailed it to 2.
I remember Taylor 4 Gamers 2009 was fantasy, and he was playing core, and he's like, all I paint is red. Everything I paint is red.
Yeah. I think most of the lockdown streams was some form of black or red. So yeah, it's not changed much.
Fair. There is 3 more miniatures we need to discuss just before we finish up the news. The first is the Boxing Day miniature. I didn't even realise this was a thing, but it is.
It might be a new thing, but yes.
Indeed. The Abhorrent Ghoul King is getting a new miniature.
Yes. Yeah, he's mega.
I love this model.
I was looking at him early today.
It's nice to see Bretonia getting a new model.
Don't say that to Duncan. That'll trigger him. Oh, no.
Yeah, the funny thing is, this is a model that has existed for Yonks, but you could only get it off the Terrorgeist, because the only way to buy a Ghoul King was the Terrorgeist.
Yeah.
They then did the Arc Regent, which was the one that's jumping off tactical rock with like wings, but they never actually did a proper Ghoul King miniature separately. It was always the one in the Terrorgeist kit. So glad to see they got it sorted.
Looking at it as well, because he's got his throne, I'd like to hope that model is separate. Like, as in, like, he literally is a separate entity to the throne, as long as he's not built into the throne in places here and there, like a leg or a bit of the back. Because that would be really good, because you get on the Zombie Dragon and the Terrorgeist, you get like a saddle, so it'd be really nice to have that option to stick him on to the Terrorgeist in that cool sort of like, well, pose he's got. It's a very kind of Conan-esque pose.
I was going to say Sean Bean and Game of Thrones Season 1 on that post,
yes.
I think,
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. He is nice. I do like it.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I've always liked the Flesh Eater Courts as an army. I'll never collect them, but I've always liked them as an army, so good.
Yeah.
And finally...
the Knights.
Sorry.
No, as you said, that they just think they're Knights. They think they're Bretonian Knights, and they're so not.
Yeah, indeed. And finally, Necromunda has 2 new characters. Rex Spires, who's blown most of his own limbs off and is a demo expert, and Estus Jet, or Test Subject, as he was probably called at the time, found in an orphanage and used as a gunrunner with toxin blades. And they're fine.
Yeah. I guess they're resin. They look nice. I might get them because I'm a big fan of Necromunda.
Yeah, by the standards of the Necromunda Dramatis Personae, they're a bit less crazy and less awesome than usual. Not because they're bad, they're not bad, but compared to like some of the crazy stuff Necromunda usually does, this is a little bit less out there.
Yeah, especially when you compare it to the Lady Helmore model from last episode.
Oh. Yes, that model is ludicrosity on toast.
I mean, I won't lie, that's going to be a sort of, I guess, old world Ice Queen of Kislev build for me.
Yes,
at least, and amongst many other ideas I've got. So, yeah, that she is immensely awesome.
But no, they're cool miniatures, and I think, especially given a lot of people have been picking up Dark Tide and stuff like that, this kind of miniature fits right in. And shout out White Dwarf this month, by the way, which did an article on how to kit bash models to kind of look like Dark Tide, if that sort of thing takes your fancy.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, there's loads, isn't there?
They also did like a Canoptech Tomb Guardians Army of Renown for Necrons, just for fun.
Fair enough. Oh, and one of the other main things in the news, the gameplay trailer for Space Marine 2 dropped.
Oh yeah, that. That was a trailer.
It was fine.
Yeah. It
It's
didn't,
fine.
like, it confirmed the things we were expecting. Big axe, big power sword in main gameplay, not just in day one DLC, buy this bullshit from buying the... What was the game called?
God.
What was the thing called? It was like a 2-player, like, top-down stick shooter thing on a Space Hulk that unlocked a power sword. What was it called?
I think it was called Kill Team.
Yes, it was. It was terrible.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't amazing, but
all it got you was a power sword in multiplayer. You didn't even get the power sword in the base.
Yeah, that was
coded
bullshit,
a power
yeah.
sword. Let him use a fucking power sword.
don't worry, if you play the PC version, someone's modded it to let you use it, so...
Good.
That's true.
Just like someone modded it for Titus to be a Chaos Space Marine or a Blood Raven, you know.
Yeah,
The
the
Blood
modded
Raven one was
community.
the easier one, considering that Blood Ravens are actually in the game. So...
Yeah, random one. There's a screenshot they posted. I'm trying to work out, obviously the guns are a bolter, but like, what on earth is that scope?
Isn't that from the what's it? Those sniper bolt rifles that those Primaris have. Forgotten what it's called.
Oh, is it the infiltrator guns? The bolt carbines?
It might be.
I've literally got a box of infiltrators at Warhammer Club. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting modern day sort of like attachments to a bolt gun.
I think it is. I think it is the bolt carbine.
Also, can we appreciate that the bolt casings look like shotgun shells because that's how big a bolt round is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, can we appreciate the guardsman running ahead of him has a shovel? I know it's a tiny, insignificant nothing, but it had to be said.
Yeah, but it's a Cadian, not a Krieger, so it doesn't count.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
There's
still got to
also...
dig holes. Still got to do it. I was going to say, they've still got to dig holes for the graves. So, I mean, they always make sure they've got them ready.
True.
Just in case.
If you get the collector's edition, you get a unique resin statue, which, to be fair, by the standards of most collector's editions, is better than most. Though I've just got to point out, they gave it a bareheaded option, and it looks terrible.
The bareheaded option looks like Richard Nixon.
It looks like something out of Thunderbirds. To me. Like the Thunderbirds puppet show.
I'm just getting a whole bunch of Futurama jokes about Richard Nixon saying, Nixon's back, aroo, kind of thing. But again, you probably don't watch Futurama, do you?
No.
You don't... There's a lot of things you need to watch. You haven't watched Futurama, you haven't watched Akira,
What?
Follow me about fucking Akira. Leave me alone.
Watch Akira and we'll leave you alone. If you would like Tactica Imperialis to watch Akira, leave a comment down below.
And I will promptly ignore you.
Ouch.
Can I spot? I love the fact that every time we bring up Akira on the show, our guest has the exact same response all the time.
Which is, what?
I watched that in the 90s, man. There's no excuse.
I was only born in the late 90s. Leave me alone.
Don't. I remember the conversation with Rhodes, and it was like, me and Steve were talking about Labyrinth, and he's like, what's Labyrinth? And we're like, you what? He was like, what's Labyrinth? He's like, you've never seen Labyrinth. He's like,
it's
no.
The David Bowie thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I might do. Yes. Oh, that. This is it. I'm out. I'm tapping out. Yes, it's the David Bowie thing.
Okay, good.
With his massive cod piece.
Where he's playing with his balls all the time. Actual crystal balls, not his testicles.
Yes, I don't think we needed to qualify that one.
Well, judging by your action, I think we did.
Yeah. Couple quick little ones. Blood Bowl 3 is coming out on the 23rd of February with 12 teams on the gate, and Chaos Gate Demon Hunters is getting a DLC with Dreadnoughts, so that game balance is now completely broken.
As if it wasn't already.
I mean, yeah, but do you remember...
Not as bad as Mechanicus. That game was broken beyond fuck. Like, as soon as you get to a certain point, you're literally like one-shotting Necrons with a punch.
Yeah, speaking of Dreadnoughts, do you remember, this was DLC as well, the Dreadnought mode in Space Marine multiplayer?
Oh yeah, for multiplayer, yeah.
Dreadnought mode. That's awesome.
Excuse me. But yes, looking forward to all that, see what happens. I think that covers everything. Oh, meme of the month goes to Warhammer Christmas carols.
Warhammer Christmas carols.
Yep. Seasonal motivational chant number 836, which is to the tune of Auld Lang Syne. We wish you a Merry Squigmas. Yes, it is what it says.
Oh, God.
A cornate version of Deck the Halls.
Nice.
Oh, Christmas tree, but spiky chaos. And joy to the world about wars. And God rest ye merry Anvil Guard, because it's now Hark You're On.
I thought you were going to say joy to the world, Sanguinius is dead.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing them or try.
No, because you're going to be watching Akira after this episode's done.
No, I'm going to be having an omelette and going to bed.
Oh, what kind of omelette?
Oh, cheese and ham. And onion.
Obviously, this is not to interfere with your memes, but I saw two memes the other day because I was doing the Cadian stuff. And there's one which is both Astra Militarum based. The first one is, our casualties are so bad, the Commissar starts shooting men from other units. And the other one is, when the situation is so screwed, the Commissar starts shooting at the enemy. It tickles me, because it's true. Poor Commissars. Yeah, delightful. Big fan of them. Delightful.
Right. So, considering I didn't get a chance to talk about last episode, I did manage to finish Void King. I can finally talk about that now. Hooray!
At last. How many episodes has it been? It's 5?
Well, I started talking about the episode before we had Kirioth on.
Oh,
and then you two were talking like, a pair of old ladies, for the entire episode.
Hey, everyone loves the tangents.
True. But anyway, last time on Void King, we got the rogue traders were basically planning an attack on the space station, and here we go. The Redrexus fleet is basically launching a distraction attack against the station's defences, while the Lavatines, the Hellventers, and a smaller group of Redrexus under the command of Maximilian Redrexus are basically launching an assault to basically board the station and nick everything they can. They end up nicking a whole bunch of ships to join their fleet, but in the process, Astrid Hellventer, which is forgotten her name, the daughter of the leader of House Hellventer, I've honestly forgotten her name, that's going to bother me now. Anyway,
no idea.
She ends up getting captured by the station's defenders, and the ruler of the station, a guy named Nikolai, he broadcasts a message saying, I have your whelp here. If you want her back, give me everything you have, all your ships, all your stuff, everything. And then he gets transmission. Now, Gunter Redrexus says, well, Mr. Amatine, so you did say that speed was of the essence for us to try and catch up with the rogue traders who basically, sabotaged our fleet. We need to get out of here as soon as possible because, it's just so the Primark doesn't give everything to them. And we knew we were going to have losses, so it is what it is. The leader of House Hellventer's like, no, fuck that. I'm not leaving without my daughter. And Erastus Lamenter, he basically turns around and says, we're going to save Astrid, but Gunter, you're going to meet with Nikolai as a distraction. You're going to try and negotiate with him. You got the nice gift of the gab, you got the silver tongue. Maybe you can convince him. And if you don't, maybe Miss Hellventer here will be able to, use the plea of a mother to get her child back. Who knows? And you are going with him because you're too mentally, compromised to do a mission to sneak aboard and break her out. Stealth is of the essence here. So I'm not going with Gunter Heldrexus. You fucking well are, love. Essentially. So Gunter and Hellventer, they end up meeting up with Nikolai. Now, Nikolai is he's a really old, withered man, and he's plugged into a whole bunch of life support systems to the point where he's literally part of the space station itself. There's so many wires and cables plugged into him. He is the station.
Right.
Now, Gunter's basically like, do you want wealth? I can give you wealth. I've got a crap ton of money. I even have space cocaine. I can give you everything you want. He takes off this, this big gaudy diamond rings, tucks them on the floor towards him. So, see, look, this is just a little sample of what we can give you. Blah 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 blah. And as they're doing this, Erastus and the captain of his ship, I've forgotten her name, but they're actually spacewalking on the outside of their ship and basically jump from their ship through the void onto the space station itself. Very 90s action movie-esque pose, and they end up climbing their way through the ventilation system. And as they're making their way through, they end up encountering a few station guards, take a few out, and then they hear a commotion. There's a station guard running towards them saying, the beast has escaped, the beast has escaped. He falls down dead. There's an axe buried in the back of his skull, and Astrid's standing there going, what took you so long? She basically just broke herself out, like you do.
As you do.
Now, meanwhile, as Gunther and the other Hellvinter, that's bothering my bloody... I can't remember her bloody name. It's really annoying me now. I was going to call her Hellvinter for ease of, explaining things. So as Gunther and Hellvinter are trying to negotiate with Nikolai, negotiations break down. Nikolai orders for his men to basically, prepare to execute them. They've got their guns raised. All of a sudden, a commotion above them. They look up. Erastus, Astrid, and the captain smash down from the ceiling above. Erastus lands down next to Nikolai, grabs him in a headlock, puts his plasma pistol to his head and says, "I think it's time to reopen negotiations, don't you?" Very badass scene, that. The guards falter, like, "Oh, what the hell do we do?" Because he's got, a gun pointed to his head. Nikolai's like, "What are you waiting for? Just shoot them. Erastus ends up shooting Nikolai in the head with a plasma pistol, so, vaporized skull. Yep. The guards basically pick up their guns and start firing, but as they do, the rogue traders activate hidden teleport homers and teleport away back to their ships. Erastus grabs onto Astrid so she can teleport away with him. They teleport back to the ships and they make their way out of the system. Now, as this is going on, as they're escaping the system, Nikolai's second in command, a woman named Sasha, she's basically walking across the space station, walking through it, just seeing all the devastation, going like, these rogue traders have basically just, nicked all our stuff. What the hell are we going to do? Our leader's dead. What are we going to do? And she comes across this big storage crate that has the symbol of House Redraxus on it. And it's a container that's basically designed for carrying, biological material or, stuff like, food or livestock, that kind of thing.
Oh, God.
And she's like, "Oh, this could actually be, a benefit. It looks like it was, fell out of a ship that was damaged during the battle. Okay, maybe things aren't so bad after all."
Bioweapon?
No, not a bioweapon per se, no. She finds, a data slate next to it while two guards are trying to open it. And it says something to the effect of, "Enjoy." And then she goes, oh shit, don't open it. Gets opened, and a creature comes out.
Uh-oh.
We don't know what it is yet. But it has very long, gangly arms. That's all we know so far.
Right.
Now, sometime later, the Rogue Trader fleet is basically, conducting the repairs. Men from each of the dynasties are basically on everyone's ship helping to conduct repairs. So you got, Hellvinters on Redraxus ships. You got Redraxus on Lamatine on Hellvinter, that kind of thing. Everyone's mixing and matching to help with repairs, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And as this is all going on, Astrid was offered the chance to go back to, her mother's flagship, but she declines for the time being. Now, you kind of think, is this going to be some kind of, some budding romance or something to that effect?
No.
But Lamatine thinks, no, her mother just wants her to spy on me, to keep an eye on me, but I'll play along for now.
This is Warhammer. Budding romance doesn't go anywhere.
Now, as they carry on, they end up going through the warp towards their intended destination to begin with. They drop out of warp, and they see the fleet of the other Rogue Trade dynasty, whose name I can't bloody remember. Nerasti, that's it. The Nerasti dynasty. The Mechanicus dynasty. But the Nerasti fleet has been utterly destroyed. And Erastus is like, right, everyone keep an eye out. Something clearly took them by surprise. They weren't exactly an unarmored fleet. They could still be around. I don't want to be, taken out by whatever took them out. So everyone be aware. And as they're doing so, we cut to the Redraxus flagship. We cut to Gunther, without his powdered wig, because without his wig, he's completely bald, and he's no longer wearing his, foppish finery clothing or anything like that. He's wearing simple carapace armor instead now. Coloured purple, like his, his dynasty colours.
At last, some common sense.
And he ends up transmitting a message, excuse me, transmitting a message to the rest of his fleet that says a single word over and over again. Void Father.
Oh no.
As it turns out, the Redraxus dynasty is a gene stealer cult.
Oh, that's a twist.
Yeah, I'll be honest, at first, given all the, use of, drugs and, self-indulgence and all that, I thought it was going to be a Slaneshi Chaos cult at first. But it turns out that Gunther is a gene stealer Primus, and his navigator is a Magus.
Cool. Checks out, that's where the Psyker needs to be.
Mm-hmm. And they ended up launching an attack on the rest of the fleet. And everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And because the Redraxus crew have been on the other ships, they've ended up infecting the crews of the other ships with the gene stealer virus, essentially. So ship combat breaking out. The ships are firing each other. The crews are fighting each other on the ships. You've got the infected and the uninfected all fighting each other. It's complete pandemonium. And at one point during the whole thing, the storage crates that were provided by the the Redraxus, that were said to contain food and all that were on the ships, they open up, pure strain gene stealers start emerging from them.
Oh, yeah.
So you got hybrids, you got brood brothers, you got pure strains all running around.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Erastus ends up getting into a fight with Maximilian, who is basically Gunther's second in command. And it turns out that it was the Redraxus dynasty that killed his father, not the Voidborn dynasty he banished earlier. So Erastus is all pissed off, understandably so, and he ends up actually killing Maximilian in combat. Much to Maximilian's surprise, obviously, because Maximilian was basically I know your family's fighting style, but Erastus was also trained partly by Hellwinter as well, as he was bringing himself up to speed, so he has some techniques that Maximilian didn't even know about. And eventually, Erastus ends up fighting Gunther on the observation deck of his ship. They're clashing, they're fighting. Gunther's got his power sword, but it's not actually a power sword, it's actually a bone sword. Because, the Primuses can have those.
Yes, they can.
And as all this is going on, as ship combat goes on, bear in mind, they're also in orbit of the planet they're intended to reach anyway. They're in orbit. And reinforcements come from the planet to aid the Redraxus. As it turns out, the entire world has been compromised by a gene stealer cult.
Ah, shit.
So it's well, we're boned. But lo and behold, they receive a transmission. What's the transmission? Prayers to the Emperor. The religious Voidborn Rogue Trader dynasty has arrived out of nowhere to aid the Lamantines and the Hellwinters in their time of need.
Deus Ex Machina or what?
We consult... the Emperor's Tarot told us to come here, essentially.
Convenient.
Erastus ends up wounding Gunther. Doesn't kill him, but he impales him with sword. But Gunther just teleports away. But since the Redraxus reinforcements are coming, they have no choice. Erastus basically says, right, everyone's still loyal. We're going to make an controlled warp jump. We're going to jump into the Cicatrix Maledictum to escape, because otherwise we will die. And Erastus' navigator is basically saying, are you fucking insane?
Yes.
Jumping into the Great Rift. It's yes, we either take our chances in the Great Rift or we die here. Your choice. They jump into the Great Rift, and the navigator is basically screaming I'm blind, I cannot see anything. Absolute hell. And it basically pretty much ends there, except for a little teaser bit Because during the conflict, Helventer, she ends up being killed by the Magus. Like, she succumbs to her wounds. Because, well, I say killed by the Magus mortally wounds her, but she kills the Magus before, she ends up dying herself. But right at the end, the Helventer's ship navigator, somehow using Fenrisian shamanistic magical bullshit...
I'm glad you said that.
resurrects her.
What?
And it ends with Helventer screaming in pain. The end.
Right, so Fenrisians can do resurrection magic now. Oh, bugger off.
They're the good guys, man. They're the good guys, apparently.
Hence why I said Fenrisian shamanistic magical bullshit.
That's good terminology. I liked it.
No offense, Mark. I'll say this, Mark. I love the novel, but I think it would have been a stronger ending not to have her brought back personally. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think sometimes when characters die, they should stay dead. I suppose, like Gaunt's Ghosts do it, Game of Thrones do it. No one's safe. Whereas now it's like it's broken that a bit. So it's like, oh, can someone else get resurrected if they die? Do the baddies get resurrected? That other guy that got half his head melted, is there a thing that could do? I hate it when that happens. It's like, kill him. If they're dead, they're dead. Leave him at that.
Yeah, if they were going to bring her back, then have her suddenly flicker with a hint of, I don't know, purple in her eye to show she'd been infected by the Magus. And it wasn't that she was mortally wounded, it's that she was infected and passed out from the pain and was actually just converted into a high-level hybrid and it sets the whole cycle in motion again or something.
Cool.
But yeah, overall, it was a good novel. I just think that ending with Helventer being resurrected kind of... I wasn't too keen on that bit of the ending, but aside from that, it was a good novel.
It seemed like it was just something, and then this happened, and then this happened. I didn't obviously sit through the whole of the first retelling live, so I'm probably not picking up all the bits and bobs, but it felt like a thing happened, and then a thing happened, and then a twist happened.
I will say this, because it has been, so many weeks since I've actually finished reading the book, there may be some things I'm not conveying in the way that they should be, so do keep that in mind, everyone.
Of course.
Yeah, again, I'm going purely from memory of a book I read about a month ago.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I mean, you get the beats, don't you? I mean, I've read plenty of novels, and you can still give the gist of it. That's the important part, right?
Exactly. Right, what time are we? Oh, we are at 1 hour 20. Shadow Sun. Do we do the Shadow Sun?
We'll save it for next episode. We'll move on to the questions. We didn't do any questions last episode.
We didn't. All right, fair enough. Tease. Right. So, first question that we will do coming from last episode. We'll probably need to open up the previous episode at some point as well. Could GW be using the concept of the demigods as sort of a replacement term for the old minor gods that used to exist? They've sort of got rid of them, replaced them with these demigods like Vashtor, that's his name, and using them as a way to work these sort of less powerful than the chaos gods but still sort of gods back into the setting without treading on the toes of the big ones.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can see that logic. I mean, just trying to think of some of the old demigods. Are we talking Age of Sigmar here?
No, I think I'm meaning 40k primarily.
40k. Okay. Oh well. Yeah, my knowledge of the demigods in 40k isn't great, I'm afraid, other than the Eldari ones. Because they're all the aspects based off those. All the different gods, the demigods. Is that right? Am I making that up? Eldari, Morgan Ra, because they're meant to fight against
the Phoenix Lords.
The Phoenix Lords.
Yeah, the Phoenix Lords, sorry, yeah. Right. Yeah, so...
I don't think they were really demigods, I think they were just...
They are immortal in that their souls don't die.
Yeah, but it's more of a case they're immortal because their suits contain miniature infinity circuits.
Yeah.
Essentially.
which is an interesting take in and of itself. Right. Okay. I think most of us have answered this before, but I'll chuck it in anyway. Preferred armies for AOS and 40k, and if that's too easy because you said it before, which warband for the skirmish games would be your preference?
Is this aimed at me?
Anyone, really. But you're welcome to take it first.
Well, I'll go Astrabilitom, certainly the new one for 40k. Aegis Sigmar. Or even Warhammer. I mean, I've got like a mishmash of everything, but I think it's Daughters of Cain. I think I'm still quite taken with some of the...
Good choice.
Yeah, it's just, I like bat ladies and snake ladies. Who doesn't like a Gorgon in their army?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a big army, and Marathi was, oh, God, yeah, robbed of Miniature of the Year because there's too many 40k fanboys and girls.
Yes, that's true.
Like, I'm just going to say it. Marathi was robbed. Catacross was robbed. Dewinclaw was robbed every year. The Chaos fanboys just rip it away.
Actually, in fairness, there was that 1 year where Gasgol won.
Okay, that 1 year, but that's because there was no Primark that year or Abaddon. And I guarantee Angron's going to win Miniature of the Year this year, even though he hasn't
even out yet. Isn't he even eligible for voting?
I don't know, actually, now I say it, but every single year it's been a big chaos monster that's in 40k that wins, even though like there are better miniatures every single year in other areas, particularly Kragnos, Catacross, Marathi, the Eidolon, and just...
In fairness, 1 year I did vote for the Zoe.
I mean, yeah, fair enough, the Zoe is also here.
It's true.
Hashtag vote for the Zoe.
Vote for the Zote. I mean, why would you not?
Yeah. Did you see Warhammer Community made a few posts on their pages? Or like, if this post gets like 1,000 retweets, we'll put Dewinclaw in the 2022 vote. Hashtag justice for Dewinclaw or something.
Yeah. I'm spreading the word. You got to make sure.
I like how some people dubbed him Crabness, which was quite good as well. So I'd like to see a version of that on a big rock in the same pose. That would be good. Yeah, Crabness.
Right. I think for me, I've got more armies than sense. My 40k army for fun is my Orcs. For play is my Tau. And then for AOS, I think aesthetically my favourite army is my Lumineth, but I hate painting them.
I can appreciate
They're just
that.
so fiddly. So fiddly.
It's all that little banding and piping around the armour and the robes, isn't it? There's just so much of it.
Yeah, plus you're encouraged to paint them pale, which when you're not confident in painting white like me, I've painted them, the robes are like undercoat white and then rust grey as a base coat, and then like wash the recesses, and it's like rust grey being a layer paint takes like 3 goes to actually properly stick. Like, it's like 4 thin coats to make it actually go.
4 thin coats. Oh, Dunk will be turning in his grave if he had that.
And that's just to make it adhere, never mind look good. Yeah.
40k, I've got to go for my Night Lords because... And not for AOS, but for fantasy, because I still have my fantasy army, and it'll be my lizard men.
You can play Seraphon, so, you know.
Yeah. I know, but I still have... I just know him as my lizard army. I don't know too much about AOS specifically in that regard yet.
Yeah, to put a long story short, there are 2 ways to play Seraphon. One is Star Demons that teleport down onto the battlefield, and the other is Lizard Men.
Yeah.
You can just play them like the old Lizard Men. They used to be Star Demons, but now they've coalesced and live in the jungle. So they're just
I remember that being put into the books. Like, if they've been there long enough, they become more substantial, more real, as opposed to like a thought and made of star matter or whatever.
Yeah. They've done the same thing with the Stormcast, where you've got the Scions of the Storm that teleport in, or you've got the Stormkeep Stormcast who have just been around for bloody ages.
Yeah.
Is there a thing in AOS lore where like the Seraphon actually have like embassies in the cities of Sigmar?
Some cities, yes, because they are major allies of Order. So yes, kind of, but not all. You'll often find in most cities of Sigmar, there's a mix of elves, dwarves, and humans to greater or lesser extent, depending on where you are. And then other factions will have their own bits. So the Daughters of Cain will often have their own gladiatorial arena because it's good entertainment, good training, and sneaky sacrifices. There'll probably be Fireslayer guilds roaming around. There'll probably be the Carriage run around because they control the air and therefore most of the travel and transport and logistics. You won't get the Eisenhorn because they're too reclusive, but most of the factions of Order will have their own base in most cities of Sigmar somewhere.
Yeah, to some degree. I always like the idea that Daughters of Cain go to door knocking and going, would you like to join the cult that is the Daughters of Cain? Here's a little book. Just let us know. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll knock on the door. Find out.
I think it's about the one cult that doesn't actively try to conscript you. You're either made by Marathi or you're not an elf or you're dead.
It's more for the slaughter than joining the cult. It's like, yeah, come around tonight. We'll be having some entertainment. Oh, cool. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's about right.
Bit more blood for the challenge.
On a warbands level, like Kill Team, Warcry, and stuff, I've got the Eisenhorn warband for Underworlds, and yes, it has the crab, and they are the best. But I really like the vampire one, the Crimson Court.
Oh yeah.
For Warcry, oh god, there's been so many good Warcry ones. Oh god, it might have to be the Cypher Lords from the Realm of Light. They were a really classic good one.
Yeah.
I love my Shadow Stalkers, don't get me wrong, and the new Jade Obelisk look great.
Yeah.
But
Horns
Cypher Lords.
Horns of Hashut.
Oh, and them, yeah. The Hashut ones as well. Yeah. Oh, no. The Ever-Chosen ones. The Pit Fighter ones. They're the Varan champions.
Oh, yes. The Spy Tyrants?
Spy Tyrants, that's the one.
Or the later ones. Because there's been the Chaos selection is so good now. I started doing a different Cities of Sigma, like warbands, like ones from the Living City, ones from Tempest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like having a mishmash of like an elf, a dwarf, some humans, maybe a Daughter of Cain that's like part of that city, so it's like a whole sort of, we've got a team together, but it's all different racial aspects and skill sets, which works really well for Warcry because then you get a nice bit of balance. Because the thing with Warcry, if you've ever played it, is you can have the best strategy in your head, a warband that you think is going to min-max the game, and then the cards like the twist and the victory conditions and the deployment completely scupper your plan. So it's like, so you should never plan a warband. You should just make something that can react to a lot of different situations.
Yeah,
however, I've been on this, and I still need to get onto it, is the Underworld's Witch Hunters, getting some of those Witch Hunters from Curse City and the Van Denst father and daughter, making a whole Witch Hunter warband.
Oh, yes, please.
Basically, I'm just turning it to Mordheim. I think that's what I'm doing.
I can see that. That's a good pick, and I look forward to seeing that when it's done.
Yeah, I was not. I say naughty. The Sisters Novitiate for Kill Team. I love them for Kill Team. Got so many options, but I cut a lot of details off here and there and turned them into Sisters of Sigma for Age of Sigma as well. So if you ever on my Instagram, I've got a whole bunch of them that just look like Sisters of Sigma. It's perfect.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've got the Blooded, and I think that's my warband pick for Kill Teams. That, as much as I love the Commandos and the Pathfinders, the Pathfinders gets a bit bland for it, but like the new bits are nice, but not as good as like the full-on Traitor Guard. And I've got a Chaos cult, so like Dark Apostle, Cultists, Traitor Guard as your elites, and it's like, this just suits right down to the ground. Yes, please.
I had this weird notion for Necromunda of doing. Do you remember Ratskins back in the day?
Yeah.
I want to play on that theme because you had the Ratskins, right? But I want to do the Mylosaurs and I want to do the Ripperjacks. Not as in like beasts, but like a tribe that use that as their spirit animal. And the Tarantulas Brood from Warcry feel like they'd work really well for the Ripperjacks. I just need to find something that like fits the theme of the Mylosaurs and just make these like really ragtag sort of, I guess, very native looking sump dwellers. That don't have like access to great weaponry and stuff. Maybe they might have the odd stubber or stub pistol, but a lot of it is going to be crossbows and bows and blades and swords. But yeah, seeing the Tarantulas Brood and then thinking, I could do like call them the Sump Spiders or like the Ripperjacks or something like that and make a very bespoke warband that's very Outlanders-esque. Be quite good.
Sounds good.
Something different. A plan.
Always plans.
Always plans.
And it just turns into the pile of shame.
Yeah. So I've got a whole shelf of grey plastic. There's quite a few with coloured plastic that's been painted, but a whole shelf with projects on. And one of them, I know for my sins, is the entire blooded kill team that's still grey that I need to get on and paint.
To be honest, I think because of teaching and everything I do, I don't get a lot of time to hobby, and my paints actually stay at Warhammer Club. So I have not painted a model in about 2 months. So no apologies necessary, and I'm going to bring them home after the last Warhammer Club of the year, bring them home, and assuming I get a little bit of time in the holidays, I'm just going to have to crank miniatures out. Like, I've got some Slaneshi models here that I want to start and finish. I've got a couple of demons over there. I've got some... Yeah, I just need to crank out some miniatures while I've got some free time in the holidays, because otherwise nothing gets done.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it is like a contentious subject at the moment, the old slap chop thing it's a title. You can argue whether it's like Rob made it or whatever. It's a technique that's been around for years, but it's nice because describing it is like, well, what you do is you spray a model, you dry brush a colour, and then you put washes over it. That's very hard to explain. Whereas if you use a term like Zenithal Highlight, OSL, NMM, slap chop, it's quite quick and efficient and easy, so people know what you mean.
This assumes people actually speak painting lingo, because when you say slap chop, I'm completely confused.
Oh, have you not heard of this new...
Like, it sounds like just put a giant pile of paint on it, slap it on and call it a day.
So what I've always done with my painting is, and what I'll do in my Blooded, because I did a load of the Traitor Guard from Blackstone Fortress and the Cultist of the Abyss, is I spray them grey, I get Rakkar Flesh, and I heavily dry brush over the entire model. And what you do is you kind of highlight all the edges. I do a little bit more effort on where the face areas are, so there's a little bit more Rakkar Flesh there. And then I just apply like contrasts or thin down paints. And that Rakkar Flesh for me, that I use Rakkar Flesh just through choice, as the contrasts dry, they pull away a bit anyway because you get instant highlights, but you get some depth and you get an instant highlight, and it's just like one colour applied. So like I've done Flesh Tear as red for all the red cloth. It's shaded, base coated and highlighted with just one colour, so it's really quick and efficient. The slap chop thing that's been going around is a lot of people spray things black, dry brush it white, and then just apply contrasts over it, and then pick out like the odd colour here and there. So if you did like a Space Marine Reaver, you'd like dry brush everything white, and then you might put black Legion thin down for, let's say you're doing a Raven Guard over the armour. So you get some highlights there because it just knocks that white back to grey. But then you get like browns and then apply them over all like the webbing and the pouches, then you get highlights there. It's just a really quick and efficient way of painting. And some people have got quite angry because it's like, but this is a technique that's been around for years. It's just a name at the minute that's been bandied around.
Yeah, that's fair. It's one of those where you don't walk in all the circles, you don't hear all the names.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing I'd say, and I've said this many times on like the channel, is I always... You know, when you want to crank stuff out, that it's easy to get stuck in like the minutiae of the details of the model, and I sometimes fall for this. I in a second, buddy, I'll be with you. And what I tend to do is I find a spray paint that's like the majority of the colour, and then use that. So if you've got like, I don't know, Slanesh stuff or whatever, you can like spray them gold or spray them silver. If the majority of the colour is like a flesh, I'm sure you can find like white and douse it in like a flesh tone, and then pick out all the colours after. I'm just going to have to quickly go and change Buzz Lightyear to Toy Story 2, if that's okay. It will take me 2 seconds
That's
keep a small boy occupied. I'll be 2 seconds.
Yeah, I haven't got long. No worry. Right. Okay. There's a question for me here, so I'll take this in this spot. Considering Tau Fire Warriors have their names based on rank, homeworld, etc., how do two Fire Warriors from the same rank and the same sept tell each other apart?
I'm sure they'll look different, won't they?
Well, yes, but like, when you're in full armour, that kind of thing, because they don't have unique markings, etc.
I'm sure in regards to like the communication, they have like unique ident codes, don't they?
Partly, yes. It's also worth noting that they are given those things later. So take Farsight, Chasseur Vior the Chauvet-Case Montier. Montier is where he was trained, and then Viola Chasseur, but there's other names in there. If you earn a title, you do something, you'll pick up a title and a name from that. And they will have a birth name. Let's just call it, they're not just like clones that are designated number 3457-alpha. They're not designated like that. They're not clones like the Votan. They are still sapient creatures. Yeah. And their parents will have given them names. Sho and Shas were their names before they became Shovat and Shasera, as it happened.
Oh. I just like the idea of like, you got one like, oh yeah, we got tall Shas and fat Shas.
And do you get sassy Shas as well? I mean, someone in the family that's a little bit...
Sassy
Shas.
Sassy Shashi.
So
say that 3 times fast.
No, thanks.
They need to watch Akira first.
Right. This is one that I got shouted at a lot when I wrote videos back in the day. What is the official pronunciation of the Despoiler's name? Is it just a case of preference? Because I remember calling him Abaddon and people saying, no, it's Abaddon. And I've heard both. And it's like, officially, what is it?
There is an official pronunciation document made by the Phil Kelly himself. And when we were doing paint guides, we would have our laptop up. And there's a guy called Dan Rose who's the audio guy for Warhammer TV. So he'd literally record loads of stuff. I remember when it was all happening, Wade was like, do you have any things you need to know? I was like, well, actually, all the paint names, because I know most of the paint names, but some people might say things slightly different. But it's just good to have. And I always said Uriel yellow. It's Iriel yellow. You pronounce it as an I, not a Y.
That's news to me.
Yeah, exactly. So it is it's not Abaddon, it's Abaddon. So it is like, as Wade would call it, the pop group and the professor. So Abaddon. So that's the way I remembered it. Was like pop group and a professor. Okay, yeah, Abaddon, cool.
Yeah, and the one that I remember that also tweeted people was Gilliman, like Gilliman, Gwilliman,
yeah,
and all the others.
One audio drama.
Yeah, that was a one that I remember causing some consternation when it was done. But yeah, it's just interesting. You
know what I would say? Because I've always said Abaddon for decades, so it's been harder for me, like when I was doing the videos for Warhammer TV, to say Abaddon. It's arguable that across the galaxy there's so many different dialects and high Gothic and low Gothic that it's going to get misconstrued or slightly pronounced differently. Yeah. So you know what? At the end of the day, doesn't really matter. Everybody knows what you're on about.
I think Phil did a pronunciation guide in a Worlds of Warhammer article in White Dwarf the other month.
Oh, yeah.
I think he actually did one. I can't remember which episode,
I vaguely recall I was being brought up. I vaguely recall it.
Oh, excuse me.
Good old Phil Kelly.
Yeah. Right. There was one that I saw and I've lost it. Here we go. Do you believe the fallout from the off-screen death of Commissar Yarrick will merit any retcon? Because Yarrick was... Well, he's Yarrick. Is dying off-screen going to stick?
Well, I mean, you know what? And I could be wrong, Gaunt's dead by this point. No one's kicked off about that. Because that was 400 years ago in the timeline. So that's accepted that, the Sabbath Wars were 400 years ago over on this side of the world before the Kikadrix Maledictum kicked off. We accept that. I find it very hard that people are like, you've killed Commissar Yarrick. It's like, I mean, he was 90. I mean, or whatever. I can't even remember how old he was. But with all those things, I like Commissar Yarrick. I've always liked the model and stuff, but I think killing characters off is not the end of the world.
Oh, I've got nothing against them killing Yarrick off. I think the issue people had is they killed him off screen with no Gazkul involvement whatsoever.
They basically pooched him, so Yarrick died on his way back to his home planet, kind of thing.
You know what? I've not actually. I've got the codex and stuff. I've not actually read through most of the. I don't know if it's even in the codex. Is it in the codex? Does it refer to it?
I believe so.
It shows the Gloriari Yannick, basically Yarrick is dead. Here is his eulogy. We're not telling you how he died, though.
Maybe that might be a Hammer and Bolter episode. We just don't know. I can appreciate that side of it, absolutely. Yeah, I can appreciate people like, I want to see how... Yeah, you want him to die gloriously in battle, but I guess that's 40k. That doesn't always happen. You just dial in a pile of fetid mud from dysentery.
I mean, I know I brought this up a few times before, but I wanted Yarrick, if he was going to be killed off, I wanted him to be killed off by Ghazghkull just so we can actually have an end to their rivalry. It's a rivalry that's been going on since like 1993. I think it deserves a proper conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the other way to settle it is Yarrick is old and to be honest, he's too stubborn to die. So I think the way Yarrick, if I was going to write Yarrick out that didn't involve just he fought, he died, he got shot, boo is him. Because otherwise he's got to fight Ghazghkull again. Fine, can do that. But I think it would be interesting that Yarrick actually did pass of old age, maybe, and was on the Imperial fleet, and somehow later, either as he's dying because he's got this Gestalt connection to the Orc consciousness because they're so scared of him, and Ghazghkull's got his Gestalt connection to the Orc consciousness. As Yarrick's like dying, is like as a twinge in Ghazghkull's head, is like, what?
Yeah.
I don't mind Yarrick dying peacefully. He's fucking earned it. I mind that Ghazghkull isn't involved in any way, shape, or form.
We missed a trick actually thinking about it. What they could have done was killed Yarrick off a little bit earlier and then just had his corpse on the new Ghazghkull Thracker.
Oh. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, that'd be great.
I like that.
Yeah,
I do, but
too.
also, ow, my feels, ow.
And you can say, guess what? We've made Commissar Yarrick in plastic.
Oh,
and you can give Ghazghkull Yarrick's cap.
Yeah. Or what's the little guy called again?
Makari.
Thank you. Yeah, he could be wearing it.
Yeah. Now I's got the evil eye type thing.
Should have done that.
Sakari.
Oh, that's shocking.
It's a good job I wasn't on the design team because I would have suggested that.
Oh, good. Right. So this is and I quote, nature versus nurture question regarding the Primarks. We've done this theory before. So if Guilliman had landed on Nostromo, would he have done what he did and got Nostromo fixed up, yada yada, ruled the world nice and peaceful? Or would he have gone the other way and ended up as some kind of ultimate mafia don?
I do like the idea of Mafia Don Guilliman. Wearing a blue pinstripe suit, kind of thing.
Yeah. Guilliman, see? Tommy gun. Yeah, I'd like to have heard those words come from his mouth. That would have been great.
Chomping on a big cigar,
And he would have been the original OG as well, so, original gangster, sorry. I don't know. I mean, just because... Yeah, they're not all good guys, really. They've all got their own agendas. He's just really good at, logistics and spreadsheets, isn't he?
Yeah. I think it would ultimately depend, if Guilliman, was in the same situation as Kurz, as in, he literally had no one to raise him, and he had basically put himself up by his proverbial bootstraps. Because, remember, Kurz was, the sole Primarch who didn't have any kind of parental figure. I mean, even Angron had a father figure in the gladiatorial pits, with Eomus. Yeah. He was this father figure. Even if it wasn't, adoptified, he was still a father figure. Kurz had none of that. The closest Kurz had was fucking Robin the Rapist. I'm not going to forget that. I'm sorry, but that was a stupid thing in the book. I'm sorry.
I know.
I think it might be a nurture thing. I think you could be right. I think potentially that, being left on your own to fend for yourself.
If it was a case of Guilliman on Nostromo got taken in by, an adoptive parent, he probably would have been able to clean up, Nostromo and stuff like that. But if he was on his own, didn't have anyone, he would have basically fallen into a life of crime just to basically survive during his youth, and he became, mafioso in extremis, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nostromo seems like one of those worlds that we will break you, and if we don't, then you got lucky. kind of planets. And it seems like it was one of the worlds that's like that, because even after Kurz cleaned it up, and I'm throwing that in air quotes deliberately, as soon as Kurz turned his back, problem. So it seems like the Strama is one of those worlds that is just nasty.
But then with Guilliman's sort of like acumen and ability to organise and stuff, he'd probably be able to like train up mentalities and, you know, get good leadership in place, that when he left, those things would still be there potentially in place.
The main problem in regards to Nostramo is because the ruling class on Nostramo were a bunch of selfish pricks. And basically they were saying, like, why are we sending our best soldiers to join the Night Lords? No, fuck that, we're going to give them the dregs and keep the good ones for ourselves.
Yeah, which is why the Night Lords ended up so screwed.
Exactly, because the Night Lords were basically being fed literally the dregs of Nostraman society, as opposed to the best of what they would have been if there was any other legion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because, like, if you look for any other, like, for example, like Dark Angels, you know, with the Order, you had to be, like, the best of the best to get into the Order in the first place, and then you'd be the best of the Order to be inducted into the Dark Angels. But Night Lords, like, you know, Jaywalker Jimmy over here, just ship him off to, you know, Space Batman boot camp. That'll straighten him out.
Yeah, though I think the more interesting, scenario, throw a Paragon into a pit and watch what happens. That's the classic question. What happens if you take the Kurz off the crime hell and put him into Guilliman's situation? Found and raised on Macragge.
Yeah.
If he had a parental figure, given Kurz's relatively unstable mental state, given the fact that his genetic code was kind of unraveling to the fact that he was suffering effectively a form of psychosis due to his psychic visions, if he had a loving parental figure, I think at best he probably would have turned out like Perturabo.
Just a giant pile of issues.
Well, because Perturabo, he did have a loving father figure, and his father figure absolutely adored him. It's just that Perturabo, he didn't want to get involved in the politics. He was basically like, he felt undervalued and underappreciated even then. Like, he's like, you just view me as a tool to impress your mates, basically. You know. And
maybe
all he wanted to do was basically be an architect, but he wasn't allowed to, essentially.
Yeah, I think Kurz in a Macragge situation, like, I can see him being, like, shoehorned. Depends on what the psychic policy was on Macragge as well. Like, him being shoehorned to some kind of oracle role an oracle that can also go. And they've had absolutely no chance of any administrative leadership and that kind of thing. So when the rebellion with the consuls happened, it probably would have snapped Kurz. He'd have gone full mega rage mode, murdered everybody, and the the emperor would have just arrived with like, there was a 500 world empire here 20 minutes ago. Now it's a corpse bath. What happened? Oh, you.
I fixed it.
Yeah. I think Kurz would have got on just fine, but if you run Guilliman's life back, when Guilliman's shit hit the fan with the consul rebellion, I think that would have sent Kurz into a tiz and into a spiral that would have just ended in a lot of blood.
Absolutely.
For me. Yeah. And as always with this sort of question, the one you always feel sorry for is Angron, because like, just take Angron out of the butcher's nails. Like, you could even keep him as a slave gladiator, but just take the nails away. And Angron is an honourable leader of men who can fight like hell and will stand and fight and die with anyone he trolls his brother. Like, he's a paragon of leadership, virtue, and self-sacrifice.
Not to mention, he had the ability to take the pain of others away.
Yeah,
that was his natural ability. He was empathic.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Angron, in any situation but Nuceria, or even in a slightly different Nuceria, just take the bloody nails away and let him calm down. Like, imagine the Emperor goes yoink and takes Angron away after Nuceria, and in the same way, but there's no nails. He wakes up, he's angry. What have you done? Why have you left my brothers to die like that?
Yeah.
And the Emperor can sit him down and be like, son, I know you don't want to hear this right now, but we did what we had to do to save you so that we can help change your world and then help you spread that brotherhood across the galaxy. And Angron, I think, would have listened. And it's just, it's sad to see what happened to Angron every time, especially when you consider the extra context of what Lorgar then went on to do to him.
Yeah. I reckon there'd still be some baggage there as well, though, because they were sort of like his buddies, his team. So, I always forget about that it was snapped away. That's going to really anger you, hence the name.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
All right, last question before I think we sort of wrap up then. Not one from the comments, just one's on my mind. Since we're talking Primarks and all their upbringings and stuff, which Primark got the luckiest?
Guilliman.
Yeah. Guilliman or Dawn, maybe?
I had Dawn in my head.
Yeah.
I said Guilliman considering, who's still alive?
Okay, I meant in terms of origin story, but yes, fair enough. Guilliman's still alive.
I'd probably still say Guilliman. He was born. He was raised on a very civilized world. The only real major issue he had to deal with growing up was the Consul Rebellion. But he pulled through that. He peacefully gained control of his world. He peacefully put down the rebelling Illyrian tribes. He united the worlds of the neighbouring systems into an interplanetary empire. He became, out of all the Primarchs, he was basically the only one who was completely self-sufficient.
Dawn.
Essentially. Because he had 500 worlds worth of resource to draw upon.
Dawn.
Yeah. Dawn didn't have 500 worlds.
No, but he did have an empire.
Not as big as Guilliman's.
Point.
What was the question? Luck or best upbringing? I can't remember now.
Luckiest was my question.
I'm going to chuck in a slight span into the works, and I don't expect anyone to agree with this. I'd say Ferrus Manus, because he didn't get to see how it all went to crap after. Because it was all he had a duel with Fulgrim, and then Fulgrim lops his head off. To his knowledge, that's as worse as it got. After that, it gets a hell of a lot worse, doesn't it, for everyone involved? So he was lucky that he didn't have to witness too much
at that point,
more
though,
after
you
that.
could argue that 2 and 11 were luckier because they didn't even get to see the Horus Heresy start.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
yeah, and arguably,
did they?
And you could argue Manus it's unlucky because he does all this prep. He's got his legion all sorted.
Yeah,
he just needs to wean them off this whole machine obsession thing, and so he can't fix it, and they go machine mad.
Yeah.
He jobs harder than the Avatar of Cain. And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much to everyone who joined in today's episode. I can't bloody talk. I don't know why. I think it's because of the plague again. Damn you all for giving me the plague. But anyway, thank you very much to Chris Peach for joining us this episode.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Good. It's been a pleasure having you.
So, until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been me from Tactica Imperialis.
And I guess it's been me, Chris Peach.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.